Hello, internets! I'm HamsterBomb. I'm back here, and you guys are watching a new figure review video. I'm finally getting a chance to do this after a very long time, where I can finally show you all three of the finished, painted Metal Gear models. Though, namely, today we're going to be looking at this one here. This one's never gotten its own finished, painted video where we can take a look at it close up after I finished the paint and everything. Though I figured I was going to turn this around. Instead of showing it on my normal white background, I'm going to show it where I actually have it right now, which is in the room where I do my recording on this nice glass shelf with the other two Metal Gears. And you can actually see size comparison. Just how large this monstrosity is compared to the first two. Just kind of giving a quick glance over. This is my original paint for Metal Gear Rex. It has its own video of just me putting the model together, as well as the a finished painted video. So those are already on my channel. Back in here in this bag are the rest of my people. I'm working on them. I'm gonna put like little clear bases on them so they can actually stand up on their own, by the way. But anyway, there's my Rex. Similarly, I did a Metal Gear Ray, has two videos just like I had mentioned for the Rex. All the decals and everything were indeed put on it as well. Real happy with how this one turned out too. Really like those two, and they are both like comparable size to each other. And then there's this guy, who we are seeing up to his crotch of the same height from these things. It's so big. Sahelanthropus, which is what this video is all about. So I wanted to start by showing you just alone the size comparison of this guy to the other two. And then we're going to get a little bit closer, and I'm going to give you like some updates on what's different and what's new information about the model itself that I can tell you from my last video of when we were just looking at it assembled. And a lot of the problems I was complaining about for when this guy was assembled, I was thinking were going to go away when paint was applied, so that joints are a little stiffer, they can hold a little stronger, just like the last two. I was expecting the same thing. Wrong. A lot of problems actually got worse, and some things actually created new problems. We'll go into those as we take a look at him a little bit more in depth, though for now, I wanted to just give you a quick glance over of like the paint and what I did. Now, Sahelanthropus actually has a lot more details than what I have done. I was starting to lose my mind with these, so a good example here is to look at the head. If I can get a good shot of this. There we go. So basically, I just gave it a quick coat of silver paint and got a Micron pen. I got several varying sizes and basically drew in the lines. Very simple, very easy. This was not as in-depth of what I did for the other two. It was actually pretty similar to what I did to Ray. Ray actually had a bunch of decals for his camo. Rex's, however, had to all be painted on. There is camo technically on Metal Gear Sahelanthropus. It's just extremely hard to see. It's very subtle and it's very detailed, and as far as I was concerned, not worth all that effort. So you can kind of see up in here, some areas I kind of had to custom paint, like there's supposed to be some white lines up on the railgun. Goes all the way on the other side. I will rotate him for you guys in a bit. Same for the small characters up in here. As soon as our autofocus wants to work for us, it's kind of doing whatever it wants right now because I'm holding the camera. I'm physically away from my computer at the moment, obviously. So yeah, I basically went through the whole thing, decided like, alright, what's going to require the white paint. I've got like a dark navy, a black, and obviously a lot of silver is in here. There's also some bits with gold. Honestly, kind of wish there was a little bit more I could have used the gold in. There's some spots that on Sahelanthropus there's actually supposed to be more gold there. Just trying to give you a little bit of scale here, as well as get my focus to cooperate for us. There we go, just a bit more close to it. The shield, I mean, yeah, it looks a little bit better. This white strip on top. There's things like that you had to watch out for. That the model does require that, you know, it's kind of hard. It's otherwise completely not implied by the pieces of model that you have. So that you need to put those little stripes on with the white, like here, like I mentioned. But other than that, yeah, he took an eternity to put together. like, because I basically had to reassemble him, take him apart completely, well, almost completely, of course, just to do all the paint, because there's so much here, it's nuts. So trying to get like an undershot of all of this I can try here before I start doing the rotating. There's a lot of detailed stuff in here, lots of little lines, had to go all over the place. I even kept finding bits and corners and nooks and crannies of him that I forgot to paint. I had to take them apart again and then try and paint some more to get some more stuff out of him. I was just getting real nitpicky. Inside the mouth is a very hard to get to place with lots of little nooks and crannies that are really hard to get to. But I managed for a good amount of it that we can kind of see in there. It kind of cooperated with us for a moment there. Normally my focus does not at all. You can see a little liquid inside there. I did decide to put the little people inside. Well, liquid, this one, since he's the kid, can actually fit inside of the mouth. As opposed to on Rex, the liquid that came with Metal Gear Rex can fit, but not with the mouth shut. This one, he's so small he can. Also, I really love how this little clip sticks in there on the side of the face right there for a itty-bitty little Psycho Mantis. The focus is probably never going to want to cooperate on that little thing, but yeah. There we go. He is there. I have him stuck there. He looks pretty great, especially from afar, because he really does look like he's just kind of floating there. It's pretty nice. Same to scale and all that stuff. So, other than, like, painting everything, I was going to mention things that have changed with the model after doing these main changes here. So, what I'm going to do is kind of set you guys down so you can see what I'm doing from this angle here as I rotate him around slowly, because, like I mentioned, I'm very nervous about him moving. He wobbles a lot. He's not exactly the most stable, and it's mainly because he just should never have stood up to begin with. You know, to be completely honest with you, that's just a bad idea. I'm gonna put you back down now. Here we go. And I mentioned that because the weight is not balanced at all. You can see these itty-bitty legs he's standing on, which, to be completely honest, like right there, he's barely standing on them. That one is barely touching the ground. Most of the weight from him needs to be directed into this point, which the biggest problem I have with him right now is this thing. Does not match the size of the little socket that it needs to plug into. It's very, very loose in there. If I just tapped him a bit, he would fall over because that's not holding him. Now, that's the opposite with my Rex over there, using the same stand. It fits perfectly in him, not here. So, this one's really stubborn, and you gotta be very, very careful with where you display it. I wanted to display him on like a bookshelf downstairs, and I couldn't do it, and because anyone walking in the room, he would shake. You would see this railgun going wiggle, 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 and I'm like, oh no, it's gonna fall, it's gonna crash. One part goes, the whole thing's going, and if the whole thing goes, look at how many pieces this is, he's just gonna burst. So, to avoid a nightmare, I brought him up here with the other Metal Gear, and here we are. So, anyway, I just mentioned that because that's extremely dangerous, and it didn't get any better with the paint. Maybe I could, like, coat much more paint in there, and it might get better eventually, but for now, it's not getting better anytime soon. So as I'm giving you guys some close-ups of different directions and parts in here and stuff to look at, just because it does look a lot better with paint, it really does. Unfortunately, I mean, like I said, I got a little lazy, didn't want to do any patterning or anything on him, I just wanted to finish. It was just unbearable after a while. I mean, some bits, probably the bit that gave me the most trouble was this backpack right here. As you're kind of looking at this corner, I was honestly trying to show you, like, down from the underside of the head. The underside of the head is super detailed in terms of all the little lines and stuff that go down there. But this, I'm just going to call this little backpack gizmo. This thing, well, first off, I want to make sure you see all that's connected to this. We have, I'm going to call it the Ray Dome, because it looks kind of like that from the original one, and that's what the original Rex had. You know, it had a ray dome and a railgun, so I'm assuming that's supposed to be like a ray dome kind of thing. So assuming it's got the ray dome, which is honestly is pretty light. This one attaches pretty well. The backpack itself, all four of these little things that hang below it, these little white gizmos, and then this monstrously huge railgun, which I can't even push back inside anymore. I mean, it's nice that it's elongated and extended like it's gonna fire. It's kind of cool, but if it was gonna be stuck one way or the other, I'd rather it be longer. But this is if he's standing, this is supposed to be pushed in. I just can't do it anymore because the paint actually prevents me from pushing it in, which really stinks. But now that you see all that weight, do you see now that itty-bitty little piece of plastic supporting all of it right there? That little thing. Now, the focus, obviously, it's not cooperating at the moment, but that thing right there is supposed to hold everything up. It really wants to see Ray through here. I'm going to go like at this angle. So, that, you would think, that would attach really, really snugly, or very securely inside of his back, right? With a really smart, joint of some sorts. The focus really doesn't want to show it to you. I'm going to hold here until eventually it does. It'll adjust eventually. It'll get it. And the problem is it doesn't. Instead, it's just supposed to kind of hang there. I'm not... How do I describe this? Like, my two little fingers like this, it's just supposed to stick into little holes and not somehow fall right out. It's so much weight. It can't hold it. So, I said in my video, I bet... Oh, there we go. I said in my video before, I bet the paint will fix it. Well, it didn't. It was still extremely loose. So now it is super glued in there. And even the super glue, I'm not feeling very content with. Let's see how far I can push this. That's going to get me a little closer. You can actually see some residue of the super glue on the back. But to be completely honest, I kind of had to do it because his whole backpack would not have stood. This is so huge! Like, what the heck were they thinking when they put this monstrosity on its back with that awful, awful little connector? I don't know what the heck they were thinking. It just doesn't hold him up at all. So, that was one problem I ran into. I had to give in and super glue it during the paint job. Other than that, some serious problems that I ran into with painting were actually in the hands. I'm going to rotate him just a bit here. The hands... they actually fit pretty well before, but they weren't very snug. They would kind of fall out. The fingers were also a huge problem I was complaining about before, if you guys watched my previous video of just looking at the model itself after it was assembled. And the problem was the little fingers were all individually done, which is nice, but they all fell off a lot. And this one, the paint really helped with that. The hands stay together, but... the wrist joints is the problem. These used to be able to move. They used to rotate a bit, and you could spin the hand inside. Awesome. So that you can, move his hand, rotate it up, flip it over, so he's holding Skullface, who's down there. We'll take a look at him later. But no, not anymore. You can even see this one in particular. I'll have to get back so our freaking focus works. It's not even pushed in all the way. I can't get it in farther than that. And I'm scared to even try because it's stuck. So his hand's just in there. It's because just that thin layer of enamel paint pushed it to the point where it's too thick and it can't get in there. I never had these kind of problems with either of these. I never had these issues. This is the only one where I've had these problems, and they are all over the place. But the hands were the worst. This hand, and the other side's hand too, I tried finessing them very gently, like rotating, jiggling, and trying to, slowly get it out. I can't get anywhere. Because he's got alternate hands that can grip and hold his beam sword, which we'll talk about more of that later, but we'll get back to that. So, for right now, while we're looking at this angle of him, I wanted to bring up this, spear thing on his arm, whatever the heck that thing is. That one also... I think this is actually the only piece that broke on mine, straight up broke during painting, and it was completely due to the fact that they had another generally large part attached with a very delicate hinge that it should have been attached with something a lot stronger, but they didn't want to do it for the sake of it looking nicer up close. And, well, now, up close, if my focus ever wants to show you, mine instead has super glue residue because of the fact that, you know, I'm trying to cover that up back there so it just looks at this. Because I had to super glue it. It's another part that I had to super glue on. I don't know if I said the back was the only thing I had to super glue. If I did, that's a lie. I had to glue this thing on that it just doesn't want to show you that. Sorry about that. I am literally just holding my webcam trying to get this to work because he's so large I couldn't fit him on my my display area to show you. So yeah, unfortunately that thing had to get super glued back on, and it's never going to be able to rotate and move. It used to pivot just a bit on the elbow, but whatever. Can't do it anymore. It's super glued on. It's one of those don't touch it, dear God, don't touch it things, but whatever. The arm joints, fortunately, do work a little better than before. They aren't just falling out like I mentioned last time, so that's good. That sounds more like the originals. The head is still pretty hard to get it to pose and move properly, but whatever. At least it's tighter. The leg joints are a lot more snug now that the paint has been applied. So generally across the board, the paint helped, but there's some areas, like especially the hands. Adding back in here, I don't know how I even got that to work originally the first time. It's just a mess. This thing just messing with it broke it off. If we keep rotating and get back to the chest again, I can show you more. Let's just get a good side view of this guy. Here we go. Actually, I'll get an angle like this. All right. Sorry. So looking at him from over here, he's got these like grenade things on his thigh, I guess. And man, the focus is awful, isn't it? I'm like trying to move him around, but I know my autofocus is just really awful on this, and I'm sorry, but I'm doing my best here. So those little grenade things were just popping out, falling out all the time. Before, and the paint, I was thinking hopefully the paint is going to give it just enough width so that it holds it more snug. There we go. Unfortunately, well, how about this? Fortunately, that was right. And unfortunately, for I think 2 of them, it held them too snug. So snug that it required super glue. You can see a little damage from super glue, I think on that middle one, and I was going to say the top one, but I don't think the top one. I do know on the other side, another one required super glue as well. So at least 2 of those had to get super glued in just because they did not want to move. And I had to paint underneath them. So yeah, I did the, I took those off, painted them, and I think, no, I didn't want to paint underneath them. I needed to do a micron pen underneath them, and just trying to put a little bit of pressure on one to like move it just a little bit, not even push it, like just kind of lift it up so it's not touching the underside, so I could just finesse my micron pen underneath it. That was too much force, and it actually snapped. One of these white pieces snapped inside of his leg, so I had no choice other than to super glue it back on, which is basically what happened over here on this arm thing. Something snapped on the inside of him and had to get super glued back in. I want to mention, right here, this model of theirs, I'm so proud of my Rex and my Ray. I've never had any problems, no super glue at all, I'm pretty sure. I could go back in those videos and find out, but I am pretty sure there is not a drop of super glue on either of those models. They are perfect. This one, if you look closely, has a good amount of super glue on him, and there's still a lot of problems with him, which is a real shame, but he's just super detailed. So anyway, getting around to the front of him, so I wanted to mention, get back to those other hands where you can hold the beam sword stuff. I did paint those extra parts that go with the Rex form. We'll talk about that later. But these little guys, if you remember from the game, he's supposed to be able to pull these out. You can kind of see here with my finger close enough that silver does have a nice reflective, very shiny look to it. He does look really nice, like in person, silver. I like the flat silver. I'm not too bothered by the fact that I didn't do any what am I saying here? I was gonna say like diagrams, patterning, camo is really what it is. I didn't do any camo, so I feel fine about that. But anyway, back to the matter at hand here. These little sword beam things, which now this is really gonna bother me. One of them is facing up, one of them is facing down. You can see by the little ball on it. But those things actually fit in really snug before. Had I remembered what was snug and what wasn't, I wouldn't have painted some things, but I painted the insides of those because generally everything needed it on the other models, and then they were perfect. I painted the insides, not the insides really, I painted basically the little grabber. It's like 3 little prongs like this that stick inside. I painted the 3 little prongs on those white pieces, and now they can't even go in all the way. You can kind of see they're actually sticking out. I put them in just a bit, and I got them in so far that I'm actually scared to take them out again because I think they're going to bust on the inside. If either of them does that, basically the sword is guaranteed kaput because those pieces stick into the sword. And I don't think I could even get them back in anyway. So, I mean, if I could get them out, I would try and, like, remove the paint. But I don't even know how well that would work. So that's just a dangerous thing. It's just permanently in there now. I mean, I guess that's alright. I just wish I could have used the sword. But whatever. Another thing that's always bothered me about him was the single, and you might remember this from the last one, the single weakest joint on the entire model is the hip. Right in here for this black piece to attach to the hips below. What it really is just like a prong sticking up in the middle, and it's supposed to be a snug fit. It's not even a joint. It's not even supposed to move. It's just supposed to be a snug fit, so that when you press the top half onto the bottom half, it sticks. Well, it really doesn't want to stick. Instead, it's extremely loose, like I mentioned, and I even coated it, I believe, like 2 or 3 times, just to make absolutely sure there was plenty of paint in there to make it extra snug. That's my trick to make joints, fit a little bit better. Put a layer of enamel paint on them, and they'll typically grab a lot nicer. This one, it's still not doing any good. They were so scaled so far off that the paint's not even working. Miraculously, I got him snug enough to where, at the very least, he's not bobbling at the hip anymore when I rotate him around. So, I'm not messing with it. I'm just trying to keep him standing in this pose, and I don't want to touch him, which is depressing. It's a model. You don't want it to do that, but whatever. He's stuck like that. So, mention that. Serious issues with these things. Opposite problem with this. Like, because of this kind of inconsistency of problems, I had no idea what needed paint, what needed lots of paint, what needed just a little. We can kind of see those grenades over here. This other hand, by the way, I actually got in all the way. The only thing is, if he's going to use the sword, he's using it with the other hand, so that kind of defeats the purpose if one hand's working and the other's not. But still, I'm still really happy with the way he turned out. I mean, he looks nice. I never got to see the people down here. Let's try and get a good shot of these. I also realized before doing this video, I completely forgot to paint Big Boss's red on the arm, his prosthetic arm, so I feel kind of like an idiot. These things are super tiny. Let me do this just to give you a little scale here. That's my pointer finger, the tip of my fingernail. That's how small these things are. So, for the sake of them all being blacks and grays, it was pretty freaking hard to paint them. Also, I didn't really care as much as I did with my other ones. I'm much more proud of my other ones that I've painted than these. Though these are okay. The back of Snake looks a little bit better than the front of him. Yeah, I couldn't really do much for Skullface either, because he's basically just wearing all black, though I did my best to hopefully, kind of make it look more like a jacket and pants and boots. So, I mean, it's okay. He's kind of meant to be standing on the hand, which I know will never happen, but, whatever. We kind of got a shot of Little Liquid in there. We couldn't really see Psycho. Ooh, hey, there we go. Kind of see Psycho Manus there. That looks good. So yeah, that one was a lot easier to paint. By the way, none of these are actually using the skin tone that they originally come in. They come molded in a skin tone color. I never used it. It honestly doesn't look good. That's actually my own different skin tone that I painted on for the feet. So there's that. At the very least, when I got them all together like this, I think that looks pretty cool. I'm going to be standing afar anyway when I view these guys, and, I'm happy enough to finally have all 3. They never made any more, though a Shagahad would have been pretty cool. Something from 3 because this is technically a model from 4. It's the Metal Gear 4 version of Ray. The figures that come with it are from 4. And Ray, for me, covers Metal Gear 2. That was kind of the big idea. It made him 4. Metal Gear 2, not 4. And then there's, of course, 3. That's the one that's the missing link here. We got 1, 2, 4, and 5. Missing some from 3. The Shagahad would have been pretty sweet, but technically it's not a Metal Gear, so there's that technicality thing, but still, just for like an awesome, complete collection. Nah, anyway. So that is all the time I have for now for this guy. I'm not ever again putting him in a Rex mode. Ever. No. It was so hard enough trying to deal with that crap when I didn't have any paint on him, and now that he's got stuff super glued onto him, I'm way too scared. I'm gonna break some more stuff, even trying to do it for the sake of the video, and to be completely honest, I have that Rex. That Rex looks a lot cooler anyway than this one in Rex mode. I don't really care. It's cool that it can do it. I don't care. I painted the parts. I have them down there in a bag, but I'm never going to do it. Nope. Besides, this looks cool. He's tall. Sahelanthropus, you know, the name. He's all supposed to be, you know, inspired from the fact that it is standing on 2 legs. Which, you know, I kind of want to... It's not a big cool thing that it really needed to do with arms and everything. It's a little excessive. It's so humanoid shaped, but whatever. It was supposed to be an early one, but it's massive. But anyway, enough ranting about Metal Gear. You know, it's actually... Oh my gosh, might be my last Metal Gear video on the channel, unless I get to play Metal Gear Rising eventually. I would like to, but at this point, I still do not own a copy of it. So we'll see how that goes, and there's not been like a huge demand for it. I'm pretty happy with how we've ended the Metal Gear series, but either way, this has been really fun doing these in particular because I've gotten to do, like, build the models, paint the model, build and paint, as I was playing all of my Metal Gear games on the channel. So me seeing all of these finished together, it's almost like the trophies of, like, me getting to play these series with you guys. So this is really cool, getting to see all 3 of them stand together like this, standing proud. It looks really awesome. I'm really glad we finally have all of it finished, and I loved it so much. It was a great journey to spend with you guys, but it is finally over. So that is Metal Gear model Sahelanthropus. You fortunately get to see a nice standby with him and the other 2 models from the same series. But either way, that is all the time I have for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for joining me for all the Metal Gear games on this channel and supporting me as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like the videos and subscribe for more, and I will see you all in the next video. Booyah!